Hey everyone, so today for Frick Program, we're actually not going to go over really anything all too much. I'm not feeling the best. I've been sick for the past 4 or 5 days now. I'm not really up to putting together some slides because I'd much rather just be asleep currently. But I know I have to get a video out, and I'm sorry that I went this route, but we're just going to go over some cool things that you can actually do with what we've learned so far. And one of the things that I didn't show you guys, but something that you can actually put into all your programs is the use of Java Swing, which is a GUI or graphic user interface that you can actually interact with your user. And I'd highly recommend doing it. It is a lot of fun. It does add more customization to all your programs, and it is pretty useful. So I created this small little program that will basically you are taking out a loan and you want to know how much you will owe in total once you're done paying off the loan and how your monthly payments are going to be. Granted that you pay the minimum every single month of your monthly payment. You could pay over, but assuming that you pay the minimum of your monthly payments, this is how much you're going to pay. So if I just run the program, I get this little nice pop-up, which is part of our graphic user interface. And it's asking me, enter an annual interest rate, for example, 8.25%. That's a really low interest rate of what your typical loans would be. But I'm going to enter in my student loans that I took out when I went to college. So I had a loan that was at 5.5%. Enter the number of years as an integer. Technically, it says I'm going to take 10 years to pay them back, which is definitely false. I'll pay back them all this year. But I'll do their minimum of 10 years. And my loan amount for it was a total of $22,000. So they say my monthly payment is going to be about $238.75 per month, which is not bad. That's actually something you could easily do. Depending on what type of job you get as a computer software or a computer developer or software developer. Sorry, mine's confusing. It's actually really easy to do. And I highly advise you to pay more than that if you are able to. And my total payment in total will be $2,865 or $28,650.93. Now this is $6,650.93 more than I actually had my loan taken out for. So as you can see, whenever you take out a loan, you got to pay interest on it, and they're basically ripping you off. But this is basically how my program works. So what we're doing first is we are getting the string from the GUI. So if I run it again and I move it up here, so I'll move it down step by step on what it does. So basically, if I enter a string, like last time I entered 5.5, and I click OK, what it's going to do on the inside is it's going to say whatever is in this text box gets set to this string, the annual interest rate string. It went away. I think it's because I just clicked off of it. It's going to go into this annual interest rate string. Now, what I'm doing with that string is I'm taking that string and I'm parsing it, basically saying I'm taking this information and I don't want it to be a string anymore. I want it to be something else. So what you have to do with that is you have to take it and you have to parse it into something else. So I'm taking the double wrapper class, which is the wrapper class to the double primitive type, and I'm saying parse double, and this takes an input of a string saying this string is supposed to be a double, parse it into a double, and then let's attach this to a double primitive type. So again, if I enter 5.5 and I put it into that, annual interest rate will be 5.5. The monthly interest rate will be 5.5 divided by 1200. And then I'll get the next pop-up, which occurs on line 18. Enter the number of years as an integer, for example, 5. Well, it's going to take me 10 years to pay back my loan, which isn't true, but that's what I'm saying. It's going to take me 10 years to pay back my loan. And so this creates a J option pane, which is what this is. And it's going to show an input dialog, which is this input. It's going to have an OK and a cancel. This is a built-in option pane. You can build your own option panes using a customizer, but this is what the built-in one is doing. And so if I put in 10, it's going to take 10. Since 10 is an integer and not a double or something with not a floating point, we're going to parse it into an integer, which will take the int primitive type and use its wrapper class, the integer class, and use parse int within that. And this takes the same thing, a string as an input. And then we click OK, and 10 is going to be the number of years. Then we will get a loan amount, which is the loan string. Again, we're doing a input dialog where we're asking for the loan amount or the loan principal, the starting amount of the loan. My starting amount of my loan was $22,000. I'm just summing this all together. It was around like $20,000 in total, but for this purposes, and it was also like 8 loans at all the different interest rates, but I just chose the highest one and roughly the total amount before I started paying it. When I started paying it, when I actually finished college, I was down to $20,000. But anyway, this is the loan string, and this $22,000 will be put into the loan string, and then we immediately convert it from the double that it is. So I can add decimal places, but I'm not going to. It doesn't hurt. If it doesn't have decimal places, it'll default to 0.0, meaning there is no decimal place, and then I'll be put into loan amount. Then we go and do all of our calculations behind the scenes, and we convert things out into integers and make sure that we keep the 2-digit decimal places, because sometimes if you start doing a ton of math, in which you're dividing by a ton of numbers, you can end up getting decimal places that go way beyond what we want, and casting it into an integer as the numerator and then dividing by a single decimal double or single decimal place or floating point place number will immediately put it back into the 2 digits after the decimal point. You could also just format it, but this is the way to format it if you want to put it into an actual number. You could format it into a string, but we decided not to do that in this case. So this is another way of formatting it into 2 digits after the decimal place. And then we just show it to the output. So if I click OK, I get this, and it's going to show it to the output. So I create the output, and then I use the JOption pane again, and I just want to show a message dialog. And this message dialog will take an input. I forget what the parameter is in this case, but it's basically what you want to put into it and then what you want to show out of it. So this one is, if I just take a little gander, it's not showing me. Yeah, it's still not showing me. But anyway, that's how I get my output. And it went away. Yep, there it goes. So my monthly payment is $28,615.93. Well, that is it for today's episode of Frick Programming. I will see you guys on Thursday. Hopefully I have an actual lesson plan video for that one. Hopefully I'm not sick by that point. But you never know. The world's going crazy. People are getting sick. I'm one of them. I'll see you guys next time. We'll be right back.